Shabbat Shalom! We just celebrated Passover and we are still in the week of unleavened bread. I hope you had a wonderful Passover celebration and you're enjoying lots of matzah. Did you know that there is a third holiday this week? Yes, let's read about it in Leviticus chapter 23. In verse 9, Adonai spoke to Moses saying, "Speak to Bnei Israel and tell them, when you have come into the land which I give you and reap its harvest, then you are to bring the omer of the first fruits of your harvest to the Kohen." So this first grain offering is called first fruits, and it is referring to the first fruits of the barley harvest, and it looked like grain. And from the barley harvest, we make bread. And you might be asking, what is an omer? An omer is a measurement of how much flour you bring from the grain in order to make the bread. About 9 1/3 of these. Now, barley is used to make bread. And of course, it's wonderful to thank Adonai for bread. After all, if we didn't have enough to eat, we wouldn't be able to live very long, would we? First fruits is a festival of life in other ways too. First, a harvest festival. And then, after the first Passover, when the Hebrews left Egypt, they traveled for 3 days. They left Egypt on Nisan 14, and on Nisan 17, they came to the Red Sea. And boy, were they in a tough spot. Here was the sea in front of them, and the Egyptian army was pursuing them from behind. And things looked pretty dangerous, didn't they? How would God save his people? Do you remember? Adonai told Moses to lift his staff over the waters, and the waters of the sea parted, and the people of Israel passed through on dry ground. And when the Egyptians tried to pursue them, what happened? Yes, the water crashed in on them, and they were destroyed. So God saved his people. So this day, first fruits is a celebration of life in the form of food. It is a celebration of life in that Adonai saves his people from death. First fruits is a celebration of life in another way too. Yeshua died at Passover as the Passover lamb who takes away the sins of the world. He was buried in a new tomb that belonged to Joseph of Arimathea. After the Sabbath, the women went to anoint his body with spices. But what did they find? That's right, the tomb was empty. Yeshua's dead body was gone. And later, he appeared to them and to the rest of the disciples. Wow. So on this day, it's a celebration not only of life that comes from eating food, and life from the salvation of God through dangerous circumstances, but also life back from the dead. Yeshua resurrected, and since he resurrected, that is the promise that we too can be resurrected if we're in him. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 20 says that, "But now Messiah has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep." In our Haftarah reading for today, in Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 through 14, we see how Adonai breathes life into dry bones.
The hand of Adonai was upon me. The Ruach Adonai carried me out and set me down in the middle of the valley. It was full of bones. Then he led me all around. Behold, there were very many on the floor of the valley. Behold, they were very dry. Then he said to me, "Son of man, can these bones live?" I answered, "Adonai Elohim, you know." "Prophesy over these bones," he said to me. "Say to them, dry bones, hear the word of Adonai. Thus says Adonai Elohim to these bones, Behold, I will cause Ruach to enter you, so you will live. I will attach tendons to you, bring flesh on you, and cover you with skin. Then I will put breath in you, you will live. You will know that I am Adonai." So I prophesied just as I was commanded. As I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, an earthquake. Then the bones came together, bone to its bone. I saw, and behold, there were tendons on them. Flesh came up, and skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Prophesy to the Ruach. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the Ruach, Thus says Adonai Elohim, come from the four winds, Ruach, breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied just as he commanded me. The Ruach came into them, and they lived. They stood up on their feet, a vast army.
I may be able to put together a skeleton, but I can't put sinews and tendons and muscles and skin and organs and everything in it and on it, and then breathe into it the breath of life. That is something that only God can do, but he can do it, and he promises that he will. We need to do our part too. We need to put away idolatry, follow him wholeheartedly, and follow Yeshua, his son and right hand of salvation, as the Messiah of Israel. So First Fruits is a beautiful celebration of life, the life that is physical life, the life that Adonai brings when he saves us from deadly circumstances, and the life that he can bring even after all hope is lost and death has come, because he has victory over death. Shabbat Shalom.